People think of space as the final frontier, but we can't forget about the strange and mysterious parts of our own planet. 95% of the world's oceans remain unexplored. Here are 10 unsolved ocean mysteries. It's unknown when Bermeja Island was discovered. It first appeared on maps in the 16th century just off the coast of Mexico, but in a 1997 survey of the area, Bermeja was not found. An even more extensive survey also failed to locate the island in 2009. It's now accepted the island doesn't exist, but the real question is whether it ever did exist. Either cartographers of the past simply made a mistake, or the island disappeared. American maps also included the island from 1857 onwards. At one point there was even a dispute over which country owned Bermeja. A globster is a blob of organic material. They wash up on shorelines and are made of unidentified materials. Many globsters have been misidentified as monsters or dinosaurs thought to be extinct. The Tasmanian globster was labeled a sea monster on its discovery in 1960, but was later identified as a whale carcass. A 55-foot globster washed ashore Scotland's Stronsay Island in 1808. It was believed to be a new species of giant sea serpent, with some believing it to be a plesiosaur. It was depicted in the same way the Loch Ness Monster often was. Still today, we don't know what it actually was, as it didn't match any known animal in the area. Around the year 1200 BC, civilizations in the Middle East suddenly collapsed. Records from the time don't give a clear explanation on why these long-established empires fell, but they all mention the Sea Peoples. The Sea Peoples were a confederation of different groups who raided coastal settlements leading up to the period. It's said they were a mysterious and primitive people who caused the collapse of these civilizations, but we don't know who they were, where they were from, or where they went. According to sources, they came from the sea, conquered all empires, and simply disappeared. For all of recorded history, sailors have reported the waters below them lighting up, glowing brightly, and for most of history this was considered baseless superstition, but we now know this really can happen. Satellite images show that parts of the ocean really can glow brightly. This phenomenon is known as milky seas. They are quite rare and no one knows what causes them, although they're thought to be caused by massive colonies of bacteria, which happen to be bioluminescent. Jean Lafayette was a French pirate who made a fortune attacking and looting ships in the Gulf of Mexico. As he gained more and more wealth, others joined him, and they say he at one point commanded a fleet of 50 ships. They also said he was the most wealthy pirate in the world, but he was too ambitious, attacking heavily armed Spanish warships in 1823. It was a battle he quickly lost and is thought to have died of his wounds shortly after, but some said he escaped and lived in Colombia for many more years. The real mystery is the location of his fortune, which some estimate to be worth hundreds of millions. According to legend, it's buried somewhere underwater close to New Orleans. Octopus gigantus. Is it real? Countless ancient legends tell of giant octopus monsters attacking sailors, often destroying entire ships. Interest in it flared up in the 19th century when Norwegian whalers recorded encounters with them. Some globsters of the time were mistaken for giant octopus. I think today we can assume it doesn't exist, but it might have existed at one time. When this fossil was found in the shape of a tentacle imprint, some scientists were convinced it must have been made by a giant octopus. Flor de la Mar means flower of the sea. It's the name of a Portuguese ship that disappeared in the 16th century. By some accounts, it sank in 1511. Sinking with it was a significant fortune of gold and currency. If legend is to be believed, the ship contained 60 tons of gold. Modern treasure hunters have put huge efforts into finding the shipwreck, but of course all attempts have failed. The treasure on board was a gift to the King of Portugal from the King of Siam, which is modern-day Thailand. The ship had been declared unsafe, but the crew ignored that warning, assuming it would be fine. It wasn't. In the Bahamas is an underwater formation called Bimini Road. It has the appearance of a man-made pathway, and each stone is aligned in geometric patterns. However, there is no real evidence it was man-made. Scientists mostly believe it to be a natural formation. In the 1920s, an American psychic predicted its discovery. He said that evidence of Atlantis would be found in 1968, just off the coast of Bimini Island. That is the exact place and date of Bimini Road's discovery. Was his prediction just a coincidence? Or is Bimini Road what remains of Atlantis? This one isn't even a mystery, but I wanted to include it anyway because it is interesting. Sea smoke is formed when slow-moving wind of two temperatures passes over warm water. This causes vapor to rise as if smoke is emerging from the ocean. As you'll see in these images, it can be nothing short of cinematic. We can only imagine how many ships have been wrecked because of thick sea smoke. Last month, this huge wall of sea smoke appeared over Lake Superior. It was hundreds of feet high and frankly reminds me of the day after tomorrow. One of my main interests is comparative mythology. Cultures all over the world share common archetypes in their fables and legends. One of the most common is the narrative of a great flood. A flood that destroyed all civilization, leaving humans to start over again. The tale of Noah's Ark is just one example. Floods were usually sent by the gods to cleanse the world of evil. Some believe there is some truth passed down in these stories, that there really was a great civilization destroyed by a flood which we have since forgotten about. At one time, sea levels were much lower. Areas that may have once been settled by humans are now at the bottom of the sea. A civilization could possibly have been swept away by rising sea levels. There is an ancient Indian city called Dwarka. Thanks to rising sea levels, Dwarka is now an underwater ruin. It is possible for that to happen to entire civilizations, but it may just be a myth. So that's the end of this video. If you want to support this channel, you can do so simply by leaving a like. And if you want more content from me, I have a second channel all about politics.